we want to start with the screensaver for people coming in late, but also for the people who will watch this on YouTube. This will be posted uh, in a couple days, probably by Monday or Tuesday. And also, the notes from today's talk will be sent out. And if you normally get them, well, you'll normally get them. But if you don't get the notes and you'd like them, just send me an email, looseleafhollow@gmail.com. All one word, loose leaf hollow, all no spaces. Looseleafhollow@gmail.com if you want the notes, and I'll put you on the list. You'll be on. Uh, okay, so I wanted to start with the image there for folks that are going to be viewing this later on YouTube, maybe who've never seen the image, and I'm going to talk about it for a bit. The title of today is Enneagram Wake Up to Core Points, the 6, the 3, the 9. As you can see there, these are core points. They're the center of that equilateral triangle in the middle of this amazing diagram it's at least 1,000 years old. It's not new age stuff, not old age stuff. It's just incredible wisdom. It's 1,000 years old at least. Uh, that's what we're going to look into today. And we're going to have three more talks on the Enneagram. Next week, we'll be looking at the external energies, the 7, 2, and the 8. And we'll have three more valiant participants here who are going to read the story of the 7, 2, and 8. And then on February 8th, uh, we'll do the last three numbers, the internal energies, the people who, when push comes to shove and life squeezes you, they go inside. So we have the core points, which are just the center of each of the three energies, which I'll talk about after, and then these coming ones, and then finally I'm going to disappear for a week and sit with some centering prayer guides for 7 days in the silence. But when I come back Saturday the 21st, I'll do a dancing with spirit, and we'll sort of integrate all this and take it a little further. Uh, if if you like this, or if you don't like this, well, if you like this, thank Susan Packard because she's going to be she's going to be reading the six today, the story of six. And she, a couple of weeks ago, I think about 2, 3 weeks ago, she says, I think we need to revisit the Enneagram. And I said, well, all right, yeah, because we do have a lot of new people, and this is our community is 5 years old, and we worked with the Enneagram off and on in the early years, but yeah, so we're back. Okay, so just a little introduction, and then uh, we'll get to our three members of the community that are going to read the stories of the six, of the three, and the nine. The earliest, well, this is a short little quote that I think really puts the Enneagram in perspective. It's by Philo of Alexandria, who was a first century uh, mystic Jew in Egypt. And he said, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a great battle. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a great battle. Uh, I can, and I think that's true. Well, the Enneagram, the symbol that you're looking at, it is the battle. Every human being is fighting a great battle, and uh, the study of the enneagrams have made me so much less judgmental and so much kinder because everybody's fighting a battle to really become fully human. And this gives you a diagram of the battle, and it will give you some key information so you can start being kinder to yourself too. Uh, I'm especially grateful for the Enneagram because it helped to resurrect our marriage 45 years ago. Pam and I were on the ropes, and Uh, I was not even living in the house and hanging out at a bookstore, and I just would walk in and get a cup of coffee and just pick a book off the shelf. And totally Amazing Grace, I saw a book that said Discovering the Enneagram. Roar. I didn't know Richard Rohr from anybody at that point. This was 1980. Uh, it was one of the first books out on the Enneagram. Only came into America and into print in 1971, but it's 1,000 years old. There was a this symbol you're looking at was scratched on a Hindu temple in Rishikesh, and they carbon dated it to about the year 1000, which was when the Muslims invaded uh, Hindu India. Yeah. Uh, Now, first of all, important, I'm going to say this, all four things. Nobody is a number. So, we, in Enneagram parlance, we talk about, one or I'm, it's not who you are. It is something very important about you, but it's not who you are. So nobody's a number. And but we all need a lot of grace to become who we're meant to be. Okay. Now, I just want to end the introduction uh, and with a Sufi parable. Chances are the Muslims who brought in the Enneagram uh, into India, put on that temple, were Sufis. Uh, and there's a lot of reasons I think that. Not everybody agrees, but I'm pretty much certain of it. Now, this is a Sufi parable, and it comes from 13th century Turkey, uh, and was a place where Rumi and several different kinds of Sufi communities lived. And it's called Ahmed the Tinsmith. Ahmed was a tinsmith who just made little tin figurines and sold them at the marketplace. And one day, the Sultan's guards showed up, and they just arrested him for a crime uh, that he didn't commit at all. They just grabbed him and hauled him away, which is very familiar now. Anybody who knows sees what's going on in this country and a lot of other countries too. So they just grabbed him. And so, everybody they were protesting. No, Ahmed couldn't have done it. He was here and all that. And then it didn't matter. Grabbed by the Sultan's guards and, you know, uh, Turkish ice at the time, maybe. And so they hauled him away. Well, what can you do? But 6 months later, they thought they were seeing a ghost. Ahmed appears, and they were thinking it was a ghost because no one ever escapes the Sultan's dungeon. It was sort of the Sikhat prison of the time, like that place in El Salvador. And so somebody came up and, Ahmed, it's you. He said, weren't you thrown into the Sultan's dungeon? Yes, I was. He said, well, how did you get out? Nobody ever gets out of the Sultan's dungeon. And he said, well, it was quite mysterious. And then he said, yeah, I was thrown in the dungeon. It was awful. There's nothing to do. Gruel, bugs, blah, blah. I'm doing my 5-time prayers, just kneeling on the ground and on the dirt. And so it's pretty bad. And then, but it was, well, could still pray 5 times a day. Well, then, after a couple of weeks, maybe a month, well, the guy came to bring me my gruel, and he had a prayer rug under his arm. And he said, your wife brought your prayer rug, so we're giving you a prayer rug. Well, he even saw in a rolled up form that it wasn't his prayer rug. It was a new prayer rug. His prayer rug he had gotten from his father, who had gotten from his father. Uh, and this was a new one. But he didn't. He said, well, all right, great. And he took it, and uh, it's sure enough, it was a new prayer rug, elaborate design that they have on it. And he said, thank you. He didn't, and so now he had a prayer rug. Well, things were a little bit better. And so every day, 5 times a day, when he faced Mecca and did his prayer, kneeled down and touched his head, he had a carpet rather than the earth. Okay. But he just couldn't shake the idea, why didn't she send my prayer rug? What is this? This new prayer rug. And so but things were better, and he was happier. And so at some point, the guy brought his gruel and he said, "Hey, look, I'm a tinsmith. I was a tinsmith for this." And he said, uh, "If you can give me some tin and some snips, I'll make the little figurines." And then I'll give them to you, and you can take them out and sell them and augment your income. You probably don't make much as a prison guard. And the guard sort of looked sideways at him. He said, "All right." I said, "I'll do it, but no funny stuff. I'll be watching you." And he said, "No, So he did brought in tin and some snips, and so things got a little better. Besides having a rug now, he had something to do, and then he would give it to the prison guard, and he'd bring him a little bit better gruel, 'cause win-win, So there it was. But he's still every day, 5 times a day, he's praying to Allah on his prayer mat, and he looking at the prayer mat. He says, "Whoa, did you have to sell my prayer mat? Because the old prayer mat, one that's been used, fetches more money." He didn't know, but anyway, he just every once in a while he'd think about that. Well, months into it, go in, and then at one point when he at sunrise, when he kneeled and touched his forehead to it, he came up and he looked at it and he was enlightened. And he said, "I know what's going on here." He said, "My wife has somehow sewn the design of the lock into the prayer rug. And now that I have the design and uh, I had tin and my snips, I could make a key." That's how I got out. And everybody was amazed. Well, it's not logical, not rational, but it's a parable for the Enneagram. The Enneagram will give you the elaborate design will give you the pattern of the lock. And when you have the pattern of the lock, you've got the key too, you see. And so that's the I think a good introduction from the Sufis on this, because it doesn't tell you who you are. It gives you the pattern of your imprisonment, and then you can make the key. All right, I'm going to switch the screensaver here. Let's see. Da, da, da. Okay, there we go. Uh, yeah, that's this is the book will be text will be referring to this for this next month. And I have, I lost count, 15 to 20 books on the Enneagram. They all taught me something, but this one is a fairly recent book, and it's a great way for both beginners and the people who've been around the block for years, like I have, uh, to work with the Enneagram. It's by Beatrice Chestnut and a pal of hers, Eugenio Pace, I think his name is. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but it's the Enneagram Guide Way. It's readily available. There's used copies available. You can get it on Better World Books or Amazon or wherever you get your books. And so this is what we'll be referring to for the next four meetings, at least here anyway. So I'm going to switch back to the and again, if you have the notes, you'll have that. But it's just the Enneagram Guide to Waking Up, and you put chestnut in, and you'll find it. So I'm going to go back to our diagram. Uh, now, now we're going to bring members of the community here out to give us a little insight into these three core points. The core points are each is at the very center of the three sort of dimensions of human beings, which is well, the surface dimensions of thinking and feeling and finally instinct. Okay, so these are the three that are coming right from the center of those: the six, the three, and the nine. And I'm going to have we're going to start off with Ron reading the six to us. And I think you'll get the picture when you listen to these three of how this unfolds. So, Ron, if you're ready.
Good day, friends. Once upon a time, there was a person named Six. She came into this life with a singular capacity to be courageous, but also with a tendency to experience herself as smaller and more fearful than she actually was. When she was a very young child, Six was happy and free. She did what she wanted without thinking about it too much. She didn't plan ahead, and she didn't allow any fear of the dangers of the world to distract her from enjoying life and having fun. She had many friends and enjoyed learning and exploring. She even took tests calmly and with confidence. As Six grew up, however, she had a few experiences that made her feel afraid. Her mother once forgot to pick her up at school. She was frightened by a movie that showed people being killed. She started noticing all the things that could go wrong and learned that sometimes bad things happened. The world started seeming more dangerous and more threatening to her. One day, Six got very anxious about her performance on a test. She got so worried that she imagined she was getting every answer wrong. Because this picture of certain failure was so vivid in her head, she froze, and indeed, she did very badly on the test. Around the same time, she started being suspicious of people and wondering if they could be trusted. Then she had a few more bad experiences that made her feel very angry and also very scared. As Six grew older, she started doubting the intentions of some of her old friends. Did they really like her? Then she began to have paranoid thoughts about some of her new friends. Were they out to get her? Were they just waiting for her to trust them so they could do something bad to her? As her fears and doubts grew, she imagined all the bad things that could possibly happen to her. What if someone stole her money? What if her parents died in a car accident and she was left all alone? What if her cat got lost or her dog hurt? What if she caught a strange disease? Six became paralyzed with fear and doubt. She wanted to feel safe and carefree as she had before, but that didn't seem possible. The world seemed like a fundamentally dangerous place. The only thing that seemed to help was to imagine all the bad things that could happen so that she could make sure they didn't. But any feeling of safety that brought her was only temporary. Six tried to address the threats she perceived by preparing for the worst, and this became a big part of her survival strategy. But even though she was very inventive and resourceful, when imagining all the things that could go wrong and what she would do if they did, she was still consumed by her fearful thoughts. Soon she was nearly always preoccupied with planning for what she would do if her fears came true, and this only made things worse. The need to feel safe in what seemed like to her like an obviously dangerous world drove Six to try to manage all the threats in her environment. It was exhausting, but she couldn't stop going around in circles in her head. She had to be on top of security, safety first and always. She got a first aid kit. She studied harder so she would never do badly on a test again. Her survival strategy was out of control. She could imagine fearful things that were about to happen everywhere, and she couldn't stop imagining different kinds of threats or suspecting the shifty looking people all around her. She watched them to find clues about their ulterior motives, their hidden agendas, and their bad intentions. She knew they were up to something. Six had become a zombie, an intensely cautious, hard-working, and security-minded zombie, but a zombie just the same.
Oh, thank you, brother. Beautiful, beautiful reading. Now, you might have felt, no matter where your core energy is, your own energy, you may have felt part, might have resonated with some of that. Well, that's doesn't mean you're a six. It just means that we're connected to all of them. But primarily, that's a really great picture of somebody who starts with a six kind of childhood uh, energy shield. That's what it is. And uh, beautiful. And that's the core of the mind. The folks that the first thing they go to the mind. Okay, now when we hear from the three, it's the first thing that happens is not so much thinking, but emotions. And three is, the two, three, and four. Three is the center of that, and it's more emotion or feeling is the first thing that comes, and and uh, and how they appear in other people's eyes is a dominant thing. Okay, the thing to avoid for somebody who's in the six, five, six, seven range is to avoid any situation that are fearful. Well, two, threes, and fours, they avoid the emotion of shame because shame is comes in the eyes of the other. So Susan Packard, who got us into all this, thank you, Susan, is going to read the three.
All right. Once upon a time, there was a person named Three. She came into this world as a naturally emotional child, and she was always completely true to her sweet, emotional nature. Everybody could see that she had a very pure and authentic heart. But early in life, Three saw that she was praised for what she did, not for who she was. Everyone around her got very excited and happy when she successfully completed her homework, did a trick in gymnastics, or won a game. But when she expressed her true emotions, when she felt sad or disappointed or hurt, no one paid attention to her at all. She felt lonely and scared when no one recognized her or cared about what she expressed from her heart. People seemed to like her when she accomplished things, but they acted as if she didn't exist when she was just being herself. Three found a way to make sure that she wouldn't feel alone or fearful anymore. She discovered that she had the ability to sense what people valued and then magically turn herself into exactly that. She was a shape shifter. When she was around different groups of people, she could become the perfect example of whatever they viewed as admirable or successful. Like a chameleon, she could change her outward appearance depending on whom she was with and the situation she was in. This ability helped her to get attention, which felt good. And it also helped her to avoid being overlooked, which felt bad. As she grew, Three came to see that others admired those who were successful. who achieved whatever they set for themselves. When she earned a lot of money or won at sports or looked more attractive than anyone else, people paid attention to her. So 3 found that her ability to shapeshift could bring her many rewards in life. By succeeding at being successful, she could attract positive attention, especially because she was willing to do whatever it took to create a really convincing image of whatever others valued. In fact, 3 was so good at being successful that she couldn't stop working and she couldn't stop shifting her appearance to promote her success. And she feared that if she stopped, she wouldn't get the attention and praise she needed. As time went on, she totally lost sight of who she really was beneath all the different images of success she invented, until eventually she could no longer feel her real emotions or recognize her real self. She just had to keep moving and working hard to maintain the image of success that made her feel valued. It was a lot of work, but fortunately, 3 was really good at doing a lot of work. 3's survival strategies worked so well that she never even had time to wonder about who she really was. Every once in a while, she felt a momentary wish to be more authentic, to have real contact with the people around her, but this wasn't possible. She had to keep working and make sure that everyone admired her. She couldn't imagine what would she couldn't imagine what would happen if she stopped. Unfortunately for 3, her survival strategies brought her too many rewards. Money, titles, applause, attention, for her to give them up. One morning, 3 couldn't get out of bed. She was so weighed down by stress and depression that she remained in bed for 2 weeks. And that was when she realized, much to her surprise, that she was totally exhausted by all the hard work she did to maintain her image. She finally acknowledged that deep inside, she was actually very sad and lonely. When 3 recovered, however, she forgot all about her sadness and her loneliness and thought about all the things she had to do at work and all the people she needed to impress. So, with a feeling of relief that she was back in the game, but not many other feelings, she returned to her busy schedule. 3 had become a zombie, a very successful, attractive, and impressive zombie, but a zombie just the same.
Thank you, Susan. Beautiful. Um, yeah, if you look at your diagram there, you see the 3, and there's a 2 on one side, 4 on the other. Um, that's the feeling sector, and where relationships are important, and what others think of you are more important. Now, if you go back to Ron's, the 6, it was about safety and mentally trying to make things safe. So the 5 and the 6 and the 7s all sort of have a center of gravity there. I could relate to what Susan was reading about the 3, although that's not my. I center on the 1, but so much of that, especially the workaholism. Oh man, yeah, yeah. So there's parts that you might resonate, but if she's reading your story, you know it. Okay, you know it. Now, so thanks. Now we have our last core point, which is the 9 up at the top of the Enneagram. These are the instinctual types, and so we have mind, and then they say heart for feeling, and then up on top is body for instinct. These are instinctual types, and the 9 is the core point there. And Mary Wright's going to read us this story, the story of 9. Are you there, Mary? Oh, she
I
might have.
am
Oh, good.
muting.
Okay. Taking a breath.
I was reading to Leo again.
Okay. Read to all of us. Leo can hear you too.
Happy to do so.
All right.
Once upon a time, there was a person named Nine. Early in life, he felt connected to everyone and everything, as if there were no such thing as separation. In this state of unity, Nine felt a deep sense of peace, joy, and love that was wonderful and deeply comforting. But then something happened. Nine woke up one day feeling alone and disconnected. He felt frustrated at having been left by himself and wanted to register a protest against whoever had pushed him out on his own. But this made him even more uncomfortable. There were others nearby, but they seemed somehow distant. This new sense of being separate felt lonely and scary. If he was no longer connected to the world around him, how could he feel any sense of belonging? When Nine tried to complain about this new and disturbing situation in order to reestablish his connection with others, no one would listen. Those around him spoke louder and had more important things to say. They knew what they wanted and argued to get it. They didn't seem bothered by the fact that they were separate and that their arguing made them more so. They didn't seem to care what Nine was saying. He tried speaking louder and protesting more, but no one paid attention. After a while, he simply gave up. If they weren't going to listen, he might as well go back to sleep. At least there was comfort in sleep. Nine kept sleeping and trying to find comfort, but this sensation of not being connected stayed with him, and he grew concerned that he would never be included again. He wondered what his feelings of separation said about him. Others didn't seem as bothered by it as he did. Then he found that when he stopped trying to get people's attention, when he distracted himself somehow he felt more comfortable. Nine tried different ways to approximate the sense of connection he had lost, hoping to recover some of his feelings of belonging. He made friends and did whatever they wanted him to do. He tried to blend in. He tried to forget the distance he felt by focusing on what others wanted and forgetting about his own desires. He stopped confronting people with whom he disagreed because he found it was just easier to go along with whatever they said. And after a while, he found he didn't really care that much anyway. It didn't really seem that important. He didn't really seem that important. Over time, Nine's survival strategy of staying quiet and comfortable to avoid the pain of his separate existence caused him to forget all about his own feelings, his own opinions, and his own voice. He would rather get along with people. Staying comfortable was just so much more, comfortable, and being in harmony with others brought him a vague memory of the connection he had lost. After a while, it even seemed as if, even though he woke up each day, he was really sleepwalking through life. Every once in a while, Nine tried sharing an opinion or a desire with people around him so they could get to know him better and connect with him. But no one seemed to listen, which just made him feel separate again. Eventually, he realized that he no longer knew exactly what his opinions were or what he wanted, and that made him feel uncomfortable as well. Sometimes he felt bothered by the fact that everyone expected him to go along with whatever they wanted, and he worried that he no longer knew what he wanted. He even felt a little anger at not being heard or considered important. He tried expressing this anger once, but that just made people move even farther away. Apparently, no one liked to connect with angry people, and that made him feel even more disconnected and alone. So Nine's survival strategy of staying quiet and unaware of his own inner experience took over, and he just went back to sleep. Nine had become a zombie, a very peaceful, easygoing, comfort-loving zombie but a zombie just the same.
Thank you, Mary. Beautiful, beautiful. Uh, so those are our core points. And you probably felt something with every point. And then if you're a 9 on the Enneagram, you still might be confused though. When I would do Enneagram things, I'd go through it all in 4, 5, 6 hours. And I told people at the beginning, if you think you're not sure, you think you're all of them, well, then you're a 9. And take another look. So I'm sure all the 9s in this group felt a lot of all of it. Yes, yes. Okay. So now uh, uh, notice how the stories end up the same. Because of that childhood operating system, essentially, this that six had become a zombie, three had become a zombie, nine had become a zombie. Well, it's for all of us now. When that program is running your life, you become a zombie. A current metaphor, and we're talking about a metaphor here. Of a zombie, which current metaphor might be more like, although we have zombie programs on Netflix, an android, you're somebody that looks human, but you're really not. You just run on a program. But I love the term zombie because it comes from Haiti, and I spent years in Haiti. And the Haitians take zombiehood. I'm not going to talk much more about it, but they take it seriously. And they say, this is Haitian wisdom. This is the good news for all of us. The way to wake up a zombie is to give them a sip of salt water. And I'll talk about that later, but there is a way out to take a sip of salt water. In Haitian lore, and I think actual fact, they would turn living people into zombies by giving them a little bit of a poison from a fish that would sort of make them look like they were dead. And then they could keep them sort of drugged that way, and then they would do everything you'd tell them. They'd work 24 hours a day. All zombies are workaholics. Okay. Anyway, so you can wake up from this. So the story is not you, but it is a map of your childhood survival energy shield. And thank God that we had it. What kept all of us alive as a child is that certain kind of energy we had to fashion that would shield uh, and keep us safe and survive. The problem is that program, that energy can block your path later on. Okay. And this is where the Pirates of the Caribbean, the real guys, not the Johnny Depp guys or not this version of it we've seen lately in the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean had this wisdom. They said hidden reefs are dangerous. The Caribbean is very shallow, you see, especially the Bahamas. I think the word Bahama means shallow. And if you're in one of these pirate boats, you could run aground on a reef. So they said hidden reefs are dangerous. They knew that. But they said they're only dangerous when they're hidden. And so that's one of the things of the Enneagram. When you find your number, you can see how you run aground. I mean, my marriage fell apart after that 10 years, shipwreck. And had I not discovered the Enneagram, I don't know. I'm not sure I would be married now. I doubt it. So these reefs are these hidden parts that saved your bacon back when you were like 0 to 12, but now they're getting in the way of what you're really looking for. The good news is all zombies are on a path from alienation to liberation, from merely surviving to flourishing, from role to soul. Okay, and even if you never discover the Enneagram and et cetera, grace will continually offer you a sip of salt water. And grace comes in two forms, friendly and fierce. Okay, there are two kinds of grace, friendly and fierce, and darkness and light. And so there's water, but it's salt water. It's interesting. Grace comes in these two forms. And my marriage falling apart was fierce grace, And the fact that I just pulled that book off the shelf, I'd never heard the word Enneagram, and I didn't know Richard Rohr. Well, that was friendly grace. That was a lot of light. Now, if you have a map like this, again, that was the design that Ahmed found. If you have a map plus a contemplative practice, uh, now that's a lot of grace. That's amazing grace. And that's where we're segueing to uh, right now with the meditation. So I'm going to segue to that, and we use a symbol many times here. This symbol here is about going down and deeper than the surface tension of your childhood survival system. You know, deeper than the left brain, because that's where that comes from. It's your left. We all had a left brain. If your left brain was damaged, you might not have survived. So that's all in the left brain. But so we're going deeper than that in contemplation or meditation. We're going down to a deeper place, and so that's why we use this image. And so, if closing your eyes doesn't work for you, you could just gaze at this icon. Icons are made to gaze at. Okay, and I'll just give you a few words. We'll just take a short meditation today because we this is fairly long, and this is a poem I wrote for all zombies everywhere. For all zombies everywhere. Okay, because we're all zombies on the path here. And we want to wake up. So I'm just going to read this a couple times very slowly. And if the words help you, stick with them. And if they don't, just let yourself just fall into the silence. Contemplation for all zombies everywhere. Allow yourself to fall into the deep silence. Allow yourself to fall into the deep silence of great mystery. Allow yourself to fall into the deep silence of great mystery. Experience coming alive. Experience coming alive in the now. Experience coming alive in the now. Allow yourself to fall into the deep silence of great mystery. Experience coming alive in the now. This is the real road. This is the real road to resurrection. Allow yourself to fall into the deep silence of great mystery. Experience coming alive in the now. This is the real road to resurrection. Resurrection isn't the end. It's the beginning. Resurrection isn't the end. It's the beginning.